The dream calls to you again, doesn't it? That familiar pull, like blood singing through your veins, drawing you back to Yharnam's twisted streets where the moon hangs too low and the shadows breathe with malevolent life. Even now, nearly a decade after we first stepped through those fog-shrouded gates, the hunter's dream refuses to release its hold on our collective consciousness. Welcome, fellow hunters, to another deep dive with Keen 7 Lore, where today we're peeling back the veil on one of gaming's most tantalizing mysteries. Not whether Bloodborne 2 will happen, but why its arrival has become inevitable. You feel it too, don't you? That gnawing certainty that something stirs beneath the surface, hidden in plain sight, waiting for the right moment to emerge from the shadows. FromSoftware and Sony have been remarkably quiet about Bloodborne's future, their silence as oppressive as the fog that blankets central Yharnam. Yet within that silence, if you know where to look, if you understand the language of developers who speak in riddles and corporations that move like great beasts in the dark, the signs are everywhere. They've been accumulating for years, each one a breadcrumb on a trail leading to an inescapable conclusion. Picture this, March 24, 2015. The gaming world awakens to something unprecedented. Not just another action RPG, but a fever dream made manifest, a gothic horror that grabbed players by the throat and dragged them into a nightmare they never wanted to escape. Bloodborne didn't just launch, it erupted into existence, immediately establishing itself as the PlayStation 4's first truly essential exclusive. While other games merely showcased the console's power, Bloodborne justified its existence. It was lightning in a bottle, captured and refined into something that fundamentally changed how we think about horror in gaming. But here's where the mystery deepens. Despite this monumental impact, despite the fervent community that refuses to let the dream die, official word on a sequel has been conspicuously absent. Sony, typically eager to trumpet their exclusive successes, went mysteriously quiet about Bloodborne's sales figures after announcing 2 million copies in September 2015. FromSoftware moved on to other projects, leaving hunters to wander the dream alone. Yet beneath this apparent abandonment, something else has been happening. Clues have been dropping like blood echoes, scattered across years of interviews, hidden in other games, buried in corporate documents, whispered by industry insiders who speak of things they shouldn't know. If you're enjoying this exploration into the shadows already, I'd genuinely appreciate if you'd hit that like button. It makes a real difference in helping this investigation reach fellow hunters through YouTube's algorithm. Your support means everything, and helps keep these deep dives into gaming's greatest mysteries coming. Now, let's delve deeper into the evidence that's been hiding in plain sight. The first major revelation came wrapped in the innocent guise of a virtual reality experience. November 2018. FromSoftware releases Déraciné, a VR adventure game that seemed worlds apart from their typical dark fantasy offerings. Most players dismissed it as an interesting experiment, a palate cleanser between major releases. But hidden within this seemingly unrelated game lay a message so specific, so deliberately placed, that it could only have been meant for one audience. The hunters, still dreaming of Yharnam's return. Deep within Déraciné's world, players discovered something extraordinary. A doll named Fiona, positioned in a pose immediately recognizable to any Bloodborne veteran. She stood there performing the make contact gesture, that distinctive pose where one extends their arms at odd angles, attempting to commune with the Great Ones. This wasn't just any random animation asset reused for convenience. The accompanying description read like a letter from beyond the veil, a stone girl, Fiona, who appears in the unfinished tale. Those words, unfinished tale, they hang in the air like an unanswered question, like a promise waiting to be fulfilled. When pressed about this discovery, Hidetaka Miyazaki's response was fascinatingly evasive. He acknowledged the Easter egg's existence, but claimed it wasn't indicative of Bloodborne 2's development. Yet the careful way he phrased his denial, stating he wasn't in a position to talk about a possible release, speaks volumes. This is the language of someone bound by agreements, someone who knows more than they can say. Miyazaki has never been one to include meaningless references in his games. Every detail serves a purpose. Every element connects to a greater whole. The Déraciné door wasn't just a nostalgic nod. It was a beacon, a signal fire lit in the darkness to tell us that the hunt isn't over. Consider the deliberate choice of words, unfinished tale. Not abandoned, not concluded, but unfinished. In the lexicon of game development, particularly within FromSoftware's cryptic communication style, such specific language carries weight. They could have referenced Bloodborne in countless ways: a saw cleaver on a wall, a hunter's hat on a shelf, a music box playing a familiar tune. Instead, they chose the make contact gesture, the very symbol of humanity's attempt to understand and communicate with incomprehensible cosmic forces. They chose to tell us that the story remains incomplete. The timing of this Easter egg is equally significant. Déraciné released 3 years after Bloodborne, long enough for nostalgia to build but recent enough to maintain relevance. It arrived during a period when FromSoftware was simultaneously developing multiple projects, their teams spread across different titles, like a painter working on several canvases at once. The inclusion of such a specific Bloodborne reference suggests that even while focused on other games, the world of Yharnam remained present in their thoughts, its incomplete narrative a splinter in their collective creative consciousness. If you're finding value in uncovering these hidden connections, consider subscribing to join our growing community of lore enthusiasts. Your support truly makes these deep investigations possible, allowing us to continue peeling back the layers of gaming's most intriguing mysteries together. But the Déraciné revelation was merely the first drop of blood in water. December 2024 brought a seismic shift that fundamentally altered the landscape of possibility. Sony. Interactive Entertainment, in a move that sent shockwaves through the industry, announced their acquisition of a significant stake in Kadokawa Corporation, FromSoftware's parent company. This wasn't just another corporate merger lost in the white noise of business news. This was a hunter's horn calling the faithful back to the dream. The numbers tell a story of their own. Sony reportedly will hold approximately 10% of Kadokawa when the deal completes, making them the largest shareholder in the company that owns nearly 70% of FromSoftware. In the chess game of corporate ownership, Sony just positioned their queen directly adjacent to the king. But why? Why now? The timing couldn't be more deliberate if it had been orchestrated by the choir themselves. Sony's gaming division has been seeking that next generation, defining exclusive, something to match the cultural impact that Bloodborne had on the PlayStation 4. With Microsoft's aggressive acquisition strategy reshaping the industry landscape, Sony needed to secure their most valuable creative partnerships. Reports from inside FromSoftware paint an intriguing picture. Sources suggest the development team was delighted at the prospect of Sony's increased involvement. This reaction becomes particularly meaningful when you consider FromSoftware's typical independence, their fierce protection of creative autonomy. They don't celebrate corporate overlords, unless those overlords bring something specific to the table. Something like the keys to a kingdom they've been locked out of. Something like the rights to return to Yharnam. The financial incentive alone would justify Bloodborne 2's existence, but the story runs deeper than mere profit margins. Through various leaks and insider information that emerged in 2022, we learned something. Sony never officially announced. Bloodborne didn't just succeed, it triumphed beyond anyone's expectations. Leaked documents suggest the game sold through nearly 7.5 million copies between its March 2015 launch and February 2022, generating over $265 million in net sales. Let those numbers sink in for a moment. A single platform exclusive, locked to one console generation without any remaster or PC port to boost its figures, achieved sales that many multi-platform titles would envy. The digital sales breakdown reveals even more about Bloodborne's unique position. 41% of those sales were digital, a remarkably high percentage for 2015-2022, indicating that players were actively seeking out the game long after its physical presence disappeared from store shelves. This wasn't driven by discount bins or clearance sales. This was sustained organic demand from players who heard whispers of Yharnam's nightmares and needed to experience them firsthand. When PlayStation Plus included Bloodborne in March 2018, it didn't dilute the game's value. It created millions of new hunters, each one a potential customer for whatever comes next. The comparison to FromSoftware's other titles illuminates Bloodborne's exceptional performance. Dark Souls 3, released across multiple platforms with the full weight of Bandai Namco's marketing machine behind it, sold 10 million copies over a similar time frame. Sekiro, another multi-platform release that won Game of the Year, reached similar numbers. When you factor in that Bloodborne achieved 75% of these sales on a single platform, the math becomes undeniable. A PlayStation exclusive Bloodborne 2, launching in an era where the PS5 install base has matured and the Soulsborne genre has exploded in popularity thanks to Elden Ring's mainstream breakthrough, wouldn't just be successful, it would be a phenomenon. Yet for all these compelling business reasons, the most fascinating obstacle to Bloodborne 2's existence has been its own creator. Hidetaka Miyazaki's relationship with Bloodborne is complex, almost contradictory. In interviews, he's expressed deep love for the game, calling it one of his favorite creations. He speaks of Yharnam and its hunters with the fondness of a father discussing a cherished child. But therein lies the paradox. He loves it too much to let it go, yet finds himself too busy to return to it himself. Miyazaki's exact words on the subject are worth examining closely. He stated that he would love to work on Bloodborne 2, but his current responsibilities and project load make it impossible. More tellingly, he's mentioned that he doesn't want anyone else to touch it. This isn't mere creative possessiveness. It's the recognition that Bloodborne exists in a very specific psychological and atmospheric space that would be nearly impossible for another director to replicate. The game's particular blend of cosmic horror, Victorian Gothic aesthetics, aggressive combat, and obtuse storytelling creates an alchemy that resists imitation. But circumstances change. When Miyazaki made those statements, FromSoftware was a relatively small studio juggling multiple projects with limited resources. They were developing Sekiro, working on Elden Ring, and had that mysterious third project that many speculated might be Bloodborne related. The studio that exists today, post-Elden Ring's astronomical success, is a different beast entirely. They've expanded, hired new talent, refined their development pipeline. The impossible has become merely difficult, and the difficult has always been FromSoftware's specialty. Moreover, Miyazaki's role has evolved. As president of FromSoftware, he doesn't need to direct every project personally. He can oversee, guide, ensure that his vision is maintained without holding every brushstroke himself. We've seen this model work with other franchises. Miyazaki didn't direct Dark Souls 2, yet the game maintained enough of the series' DNA to satisfy most fans. With the right team, the right oversight, and Miyazaki's guiding hand, Bloodborne 2 could honor its predecessor while carving its own path through the nightmare. The corporate restructuring under Sony's increased influence provides the perfect opportunity for this approach. Sony's internal studios have mastered the art of collaborative development, sharing technology, expertise, and resources across projects. Imagine Bloodborne 2 developed with the technical wizardry of Guerrilla Games' Decima engine, or the motion capture excellence of Santa Monica Studio. The possibilities become intoxicating. Throughout all these corporate maneuvers and creative considerations, one force has remained constant, unwavering, almost supernaturally persistent: the Bloodborne community. If games could be willed into existence through sheer collective desire, Bloodborne 2 would have materialized years ago. The community's dedication transcends typical fandom. It's become something closer to religious devotion, complete with rituals, prophecies, and an unshakable faith that their patience will be rewarded. The memes alone tell a story of beautiful, tragic persistence. Every gaming event, every state of play, every industry showcase brings the same ritual. Fans gather in discussion threads, creating elaborate summoning circles with Bloodborne imagery, chanting "Grant us eyes" like digital prayers to uncaring corporate gods. When disappointment inevitably follows, they dust themselves off and prepare for the next ceremony. It would be comedic if it weren't so genuinely touching. A community united not by what they have, but by what they're waiting for. Beyond the memes, the community has taken matters into their own hands in remarkable ways. Lance McDonald, a legendary figure in the PlayStation hacking community, created a 60 FPS patch for Bloodborne that proved what many suspected. The game could easily run at higher frame rates with minimal modification. His work demonstrated that a PS5 update wouldn't require extensive redevelopment, just the will to make it happen. The fact that Sony hasn't capitalized on this low-hanging fruit suggests they might be saving Bloodborne's return for something bigger. The streaming and content creation community has kept Bloodborne alive in ways that marketing budgets could never achieve. Years after release, Bloodborne remains one of the most watched FromSoftware games on platforms like Twitch and YouTube. New players discover it daily through Let's Plays and lore videos, each one joining the ranks of hunters, waiting for their chance to return to the dream. Content creators have dissected every pixel, every line of dialogue, every architectural detail in Yharnam, building a collective understanding of the game that goes deeper than perhaps even its creators intended. The modding community, limited though they are by PlayStation's closed ecosystem, has performed miracles with what little access they have. They've created randomizers, difficulty modifications, and even crude multiplayer improvements, each mod a love letter to a game that refuses to die. On PC, the situation is even more remarkable. Despite Bloodborne never receiving an official PC release, a dedicated team has been working on a demake, recreating the entire game in a PSX-style aesthetic. The lengths to which people will go to experience Bloodborne in new ways speaks to a demand that goes beyond simple consumer interest. This community dedication hasn't gone unnoticed. Reports indicate FromSoftware conducted detailed surveys about Bloodborne, asking players about their favorite weapons, areas, bosses, and mechanics. These weren't casual marketing surveys, they were deep, specific questionnaires that suggested genuine research for future development. You don't gather that level of detailed feedback for a franchise you're abandoning. The whispers from industry insiders have grown louder in recent months, coalescing into something approaching consensus. Multiple sources, including some with strong track records for accurate leaks, suggest that Bloodborne 2 isn't just in consideration. It's been quietly greenlit, existing in that shadowy pre-production phase where concepts are explored and foundations are laid. One particularly credible leaker suggested that FromSoftware and Sony are waiting for the perfect moment to announce, wanting to ensure they can deliver something that exceeds the impossibly high expectations. The pattern of PlayStation's remaster strategy offers additional clues. Sony has been systematically updating their most beloved exclusives for the PS5 generation. The Last of Us, Horizon Zero, Dawn, Spider-Man, Ghost of Tsushima. Each remaster serves dual purposes. It brings new players into the franchise while gauging interest for sequels. Bloodborne's absence from this remaster parade is conspicuous. Either Sony has inexplicably forgotten about one of PS4's most beloved exclusives, or they're planning something more substantial than a simple visual upgrade. Consider the technical showcase that Bloodborne 2 could provide for PlayStation 5. The original game pushed PS4 to its limits, creating a dense, atmospheric world that still impresses today, despite its technical limitations. Imagine Yharnam rebuilt with the PS5's solid-state drive eliminating load times, those fog doors that once masked loading becoming pure atmospheric choice. Ray-traced lighting could transform the game's already impressive Gothic architecture into something truly next-generation, with shadows that pool and spread like living things. The DualSense controller's haptic feedback could make every visceral attack, every blood vial injection, every transformation feel horrifyingly tangible. The timing aligns with an almost cosmic precision. 2025 marks Bloodborne's 10th anniversary, a milestone that gaming companies love to celebrate with major announcements. The PS5 will have a mature install base by then, hungry for exclusive content that justifies their hardware investment. FromSoftware will have had sufficient time since Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree DLC to develop something new. The stars, as they say in Yharnam, are aligning. The broader gaming landscape has shifted dramatically in Bloodborne's favor since 2015. The Soulsborne genre has evolved from niche interest to mainstream phenomenon, with Elden Ring selling over 20 million copies and bringing millions of new players into FromSoftware's dark worlds. These players, having conquered the lands between, are hungry for new challenges, new nightmares to overcome. Many have worked backwards through FromSoftware's catalog, but find themselves locked out of Bloodborne by platform exclusivity. A new Bloodborne would give them their chance to join the hunt, while providing veterans with fresh horrors to uncover. The influence of Bloodborne on the wider gaming industry cannot be overstated. Its aggressive combat system, which rewarded offense over defense through the rally mechanic, influenced action games across the spectrum. Its cosmic horror narrative, slowly revealing that the gothic werewolf hunt was merely the surface of something far more terrifying and incomprehensible, showed developers how to layer storytelling in ways that respect player intelligence. Games like Hollow Knight, Blasphemous, Salt and Sanctuary, and dozens of others wear Bloodborne's influence proudly. The master needs to return to show the students how it's really done. From a narrative perspective, Bloodborne's world begs for expansion. The game's lore, deep as it runs, leaves countless threads dangling. What lies beyond Yharnam? How far has the scourge of beasts spread? What other great ones lurk in dimensions adjacent to our own? The game's multiple endings each suggest different possibilities for continuation. A sequel wouldn't need to directly follow any particular ending. It could explore parallel hunts, previous disasters, or the slow corruption of entirely new cities. The cosmic horror framework allows for infinite variation while maintaining thematic consistency. The technological evolution since 2015 opens doors that didn't exist when Bloodborne was created. Improved AI could make the hunter's nightmares truly unpredictable. Advanced physics systems could make the transformation from human to beast visually spectacular and mechanically meaningful. Online integration could be expanded beyond the original's bell system, perhaps allowing for persistent world events that affect all players simultaneously, turning the hunt into something truly communal. FromSoftware's growth as a studio positions them perfectly to tackle Bloodborne 2's development. They've refined their combat systems through Sekiro's posture mechanics and Elden Ring's stance breaking. They've expanded their approach to exploration with open-world design. They've learned to balance accessibility with challenge, bringing in new players without sacrificing the hardcore experience. All these lessons could be applied to Bloodborne 2, creating something that honors the original while pushing beyond its limitations. The economic reality makes Bloodborne 2's existence almost inevitable. In an industry where development costs continue to skyrocket and original IP becomes increasingly risky, sequels to proven successes are safe bets that corporations love. Bloodborne isn't just proven, it's proven on a single platform with room for enormous growth. The combination of existing fans desperate for more content and new players drawn in by FromSoftware's increased prominence creates a perfect storm of commercial opportunity. Sony's gaming division needs Bloodborne 2, more than perhaps even they realize. As gaming moves increasingly towards service models and platform-agnostic releases, Sony needs exclusive experiences that can't be replicated elsewhere. Bloodborne represents something unique in their portfolio, a game that became synonymous with PlayStation, not through marketing, but through genuine player passion. Its sequel wouldn't just be another exclusive, it would be a statement about PlayStation's commitment to the kinds of challenging, artistic experiences that define gaming as a medium. The silence from both Sony and FromSoftware speaks volumes when you understand how to interpret it. In an industry where games are often announced years before release, where every minor project gets leaked months in advance, Bloodborne 2's absence from insider reports is actually suspicious. It suggests something being held close, protected, saved for the right moment. The bigger the secret, the tighter the circle that knows it. As we draw close to the end of this investigation, the evidence becomes overwhelming. Every thread we've pulled, every shadow we've illuminated, every whisper we've amplified points to the same conclusion. Bloodborne 2 isn't just possible or probable, it's inevitable. The combination of financial incentive, creative opportunity, technological capability, and sheer overwhelming demand creates a gravity that pulls toward a single outcome. The question has never really been if Bloodborne 2 will happen, but when and in what form. Will it be a direct sequel, picking up where one of the original's endings left off? A prequel exploring the early days of the Healing Church and the first contact with the Great Ones? Perhaps a parallel story showing how other parts of the world deal with similar cosmic incursions? The possibilities are as endless as they are tantalizing. What we know for certain is that the pieces are in place. Sony has the rights and the newfound corporate influence. FromSoftware has the expertise, the expanded resources, and despite Miyazaki's protestations, the clear desire to return to this world. The technology exists to realize Bloodborne's vision in ways impossible in 2015. The audience waits with patience that borders on religious devotion. All that remains is the announcement, that moment when the gaming world stops and collectively gasps as familiar notes play and we see those words we've been waiting for, Bloodborne 2. When that moment comes, and it will come, remember that you were here, examining the clues, following the trail, keeping the faith when others dismissed it as impossible. The hunt never truly ended. We've simply been waiting in the hunter's dream, gathering our strength, preparing for the nightmare to begin anew. The bell will toll again, calling us back to streets slick with blood and shadows that hide incomprehensible truths. And when it does, we'll be ready. Until that glorious, terrible day arrives, thank you for joining me in this deep dive into one of gaming's most anticipated sequels. If this exploration has ignited your own hunger for the hunt's return, please consider subscribing to the channel and joining our community of lore seekers and mystery unravelers. Your support makes investigations like this possible and ensures we can continue exploring gaming's deepest secrets together. Share this video with fellow hunters still waiting in the dream, leave your own theories and observations in the comments below, and remember, fear the old blood, but never stop believing in the hunt's return. This has been Keen 7 Lore, and may you find your worth in the waking world until we meet again in the dream that surely comes.